I think we're live.
Oh,
There
shit.
we go. Here we are. How you doing?
Yeah. Wow.
Good. We should probably start talking about things, or at the very least, share this link all over the place. Although actually, don't share the link of the. I should have told you this before I started streaming. Don't share the link that I sent you, otherwise everyone will get into the thing. Share the link that's of the YouTube stream.
And where will I
This is
find
a
that?
well-organized stream, everybody.
Let me have a look.
Oh, this is going to be a pain if anyone ever wants to actually watch it back. Like they got to sit through this. The thing. Share the link. Oh, there we go.
There we go. I can see myself. It's a deeply weird.
It's very weird.
Deeply weird experience.
Somewhat concerning.
Yeah, just slightly. There we go. Cool.
Let's fit in all the places. This is normally something we do before the stream, but
yes.
That's fine. This is
fine. This is spontaneous. This is quarantine times. There's no rules. That's right.
There is no right. There is no wrong. There is only the stream.
The stream. We are the stream.
Yes, stream of consciousness. Quarantine super professional stream to talk about the comic book we're making. There we go. That's what I'm going to call this post. Sounds good.
Very nice. Very good.
There we go. You've done a post.
I have done a post. I'll do a post in multiple other places too.
Yes, and I will do a post here. Me and Agatha are live. And that there. And then I'll also send it to Jules, who helped me set this up.
Oh, that's very sweet.
You do know Jules, right?
Jules, who's Jules? Remind me.
Jules is a ruckus goer. She does Film Prompt Society and Jules Zender.
Yes.
Game reviews.
Yeah, that rings a bell. I don't know whether we actually got the chance to hang out much at Ruckus, but no, that does ring a bell. I can put a face to the name, but I don't know that we necessarily interacted loads.
Mm-hmm. She's great. Hopefully she will be here. Apparently we have someone watching. Oh wait.
Oh
wait, no, it's me.
It's me. It's
what? No, it's me.
It's
me. Good. So part of me is like we should wait for someone to turn up before we start talking, but also there's a part of me that's like we should start straight away, so anyone who watches this back is, not bored.
Oh yeah. Yes.
Mm-hmm. So I normally for these kind of streams I prepare like a little sort of checklist of things I want to cover. I've not done that today because the world has been crazy, and I've been meaning to do this stream for like 2 weeks, and we've never got around to it because one of us always messages the other being like stream, and we're like, yeah, that sounds great, and then we forget to do it. There's 2 people watching.
Oh my gosh! Hi.
I don't know who they
are.
Hello. Let's see. I mean, if you're watching, leave a comment and let me know. Oh wait, it's down to 1 person. which is not me this time because I closed the tab that I was watching it in. Oh, it's Daisy. Daisy says the delay is fun because Daisy is in the other room, hearing my voice coming through the walls.
Oh, that's extremely good. I love that. That's very, very, very good.
Excellent. So the purpose of this live stream is to talk about Secrets and Shadows and like where we got inspiration from and how it all came to be and all that jazz. But I'm not sure quite where I want to go. But the computer is currently in the place where all the papers were for the video that's on the Indiegogo.
Oh yeah.
So you can see this light that's lighting the side of my face here is the same light that was lighting the side of my face in that video.
Fun throwback.
Exactly. Apparently, it's exactly 17 seconds delay.
Ooh, that's
So
very.
I wonder if I'm like, wait, okay. I'm just having fun with Daisy now. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to say a word really loudly, and then I'm going to say that same word again exactly 17 seconds later, and see if I can hear Daisy laugh as I say something actually in sync.
This is very good audio.
It's excellent. This is good content.
Good content. Love it.
What should I say? What's a word? What's a good word?
The only word that's coming to me is goose, and it's not a great word, but it's a word.
Goose is good. Goose is very good. So let's go. Goose. Okay, there we go. Let's start the timer. So now I just have to stall for like 17 seconds until it's time for me to say again. So let's go for goose. There we go. Great. So close, apparently. I hear from the other room.
Oh, very good. Very good.
Excellent. Good. We're making good use of this this very weird situation. So I need to see if I can send this stream to someone else because so close, apparently. Wait. There we go. That was 17 seconds ago.
That was very good.
Okay. Yeah, some people might turn up. I kind of feel like let's spin our wheels a little bit more until we get to the 10-minute mark, and then I don't know. Then maybe something will have come to my brain that makes a good way of starting actually talking about stuff seriously.
Sorry, I just got had the shit scared out of me by one of the cats.
Excellent way.
Come on, get up. Get up. There you go. You can sit now. So sorry. I'm back.
Excellent. Good. Daisy's creaking the floorboards just off screen. Good. Daisy's going to be one of these great, off-camera characters, who's always referred to but never seen.
Yes. Yeah. Oh.
Like Mirrors from Frasier. Good. We're just about to reach 10 minutes, which means I need to come up with something to say.
Yes.
What? Yeah. What? Color choices. That is a good thing. Yeah. Well, that's great. Perfectly at 10 minutes, Daisy has suggested that we start by talking about the color palette.
Oh, the color palette. Gosh.
It's very much a thing that you will need to talk about more than me, because I didn't choose the color palette. I gave images and things, and you came up with something really cool, and I was like, yes, do that.
I'll be honest. It was weirdly, I think it was a fashion photo I saw somewhere that had a very similar sort of color scheme, and it's been a color scheme that I've kind of been playing around with here and there a little bit. And I think I just quite in my own sort of personal practice, as it were, in my own sort of personal art, I tend to go for fairly unusual sort of color combinations. So I was quite attracted to the idea of using colors that sort of almost on the opposite side of the spectrum from each other, and using a fairly limited palette to kind of go and use that in the comic. And I know you spoke about using various different noir films. You might need to remind me the names of those that you
remember the names of them.
Yes, so ones that use kind of fairly unusual color combinations or sort of lighting. I'm sure if we looked back through our chats,
I remember I talked about a few things. Like, I looked at some like David Fincher films from the 90s was something that I brought up. Then I also used Suspiria, which is a like giallo, like an Italian horror film. That's got those really wild colors, like the sort of pinks and greens and things. Because I really, really like that kind of aesthetic. And then you sort of found a thing that does that kind of very bold thing with colors that still feels that kind of grounded, contrasty noir thing. It doesn't feel too, I think if you get like adventurous with colors, it can feel a bit too much like an acid trip, but it very much doesn't. So I'm like,
yes. I'm very glad to hear that. Because I think I've for the longest time, up until actually fairly recently, I've been quite conservative in terms of my color choices in majority of the work that I produce. So like when I was up until around the time I went to uni, a lot of my stuff was either black and white or had like that sort of classic color. You'd use green for leaves, or green for grass, or flesh tones for a flesh tone, or black or sort of brown or whatever for hair. Whereas it's not it's not until fairly recently that I've gone full out and just gone balls to the wall. Like, okay, we're going to have orange for the skin, and we're going to have blue and dark blue for like the hair, and we can have like a little bit of green thrown in for something else. So it's a fairly recent development, but I think it, like you say, I think it works really quite nicely. It's because it's also not a color decision that most comic artists, I don't think, would have made. I think most people would have tended to go for like sort of either straight up black and white, or like a muddy sort of color palette, kind of dingy, cramped, whatever. Whereas I think also because it has a fantasy element to it, I think the color scheme really lends itself to that as well.
This reminds me of what we were talking about early on, because I think I said I didn't want it to go into sort of Sin City territory, black, white, and color thing. That is like, Sin City is very cool, and it is also very noir, but I think it's sort of too much the like cliched, quintessential, this is how we do noir in comic books thing.
Exactly.
And I think I sent over some. I can't remember how to pronounce his name now. Mike Mignola, is that how you pronounce it?
Mike Mignola, yeah.
Yeah, the Hellboy stuff, which I remember you picking up some panels and pages that you really liked and some you really didn't, which was really interesting.
Mhm.
But like the fact that when it went into those kind of like dull, earthy tones, you weren't really a fan. But then the sort of interesting use of reds and blues and things like that, you were like, ooh, ooh, ooh,
Yes.
all
Yeah.
right.
Yeah.
Um,
I think I'm very deeply personally.
mhm,
This is like a personal grudge I have, but I'm deeply against earth tones in
mhm,
most areas of life.
mhm.
So
Well, I mean, I guess there's not really any browns in anything you sent me. I vaguely remember there being some browns. Um,
mm,
you're like
maybe
browns? That doesn't sound like me.
no. No, it's really not the sort of
Mm,
color I tend
yeah,
to go for.
it's
Not
because
that it can't be used nicely, but
yeah,
it's not me.
it's because it's not really like you don't need it in a lot of ways.
Mm,
It's just like it's kind of muddy, and you can get the same effect with a dark blue or an orange or a something along those lines. And orange is such a nicer color than brown. It's like
It
yeah,
is.
it's like brown with flavor.
Taking brown to Flavor Town.
Exactly. Um,
Yeah, I do like orange quite a bit. It's so much more superior to brown.
oh yes, 100%. Um, so yeah, that was a thing that we talked about from the start was color,
Yes.
and I
Yeah.
like what we settled on because oh oh
Oh,
it's
oh.
very tasty. Oh, um, so we haven't actually talked much. We've not talked publicly at all about how this all kind of came into being.
Yes, yeah. Well, I'd like to hear your take on it actually, because seeing as you are the sort of originator of the whole
Hmm.
story.
Yeah, okay, so I guess we've got to start this with I guess we've got to go back to the docs to start this, the short film I
Mhm.
made like 2 years ago. Um, so I made a short film like 2 years ago. It won a bunch of awards. I put it on YouTube. Like thousands of people watched it. I'm like, yay, that's great. Um, so I thought, I could develop this into a web series maybe. And I really like the actors. I thought maybe I could work with the same actors again. So I came up with this idea that so I'd had a post-it note that I had like above my desk for like 2 or 3 years. But I had it since like
Mhm.
end of first year, beginning of second year of university, which was just like noir but magic question mark. Um, or it was like
Ah,
the Harry Potter hidden world, but in a noir setting. And I was like, I was super into this, like to the point where I started writing like noir style Harry Potter fan fiction. But then I was like, the Harry Potter stuff's weighing it down because it's not the kind of magic that I want to do. And then so I was like, I can make this web
yeah.
series with, noir and magic. And I wrote like 3 episodes of it. And I started to get a bit like, oh, I don't know if these visual effects can actually work. Like this one specific moment would work
Yeah.
as a splash page in a comic book, like you know everything happening across a
Mm,
double page spread. And I could really see that, and I was like, I'm not going to be able to capture that in film. Then I
yeah.
met you at Ruckus. Um,
Oh,
at,
Ruckus.
uh,
Oh, Ruckus.
I know Ruckus at a
Oh.
what was the workshop?
Mm.
It
It was
was
creative. I think it was generating ideas. Um,
mhm,
I think it was centered kind of around the sort of process of brainstorming for I think for a lot of people figuring out what they wanted to focus on. I think
mhm,
for those people who aren't aware, Ruckus is kind of like a weekly creative getaway, and not a weekly. God,
Yeah,
it would be
long.
lovely if it was
Yeah.
weekly. But it's like a weekend getaway in the summer where we basically spent the August bank holiday in a big house in Wales. 70 of us just like throwing ideas at each other and making art and making music and writing things and just generally having a really nice creative time. So yeah, I think it was the Generating Ideas workshop that we kind of connected at, because I don't think we had any other workshops together. It was just that one.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, I remember I certainly hadn't worked with you in a group before. So, but we like I talked about this web series with you because I was like, I don't know what to do with it next.
Yeah.
And you talked to me about a comic book that you wanted to make, which was about a glam rock band, but they're all vampires.
Yes, yeah.
Yes, yeah.
Yes, yeah.
And we talked
That's
about like
I've actually got a planning.
oh, you've got it's developing.
Yeah,
I'm really happy because I love that idea so much.
Yes, yeah. I've got a oh, thank you. I've got a planning sketchbook like just on my desk,
Nice.
waiting to be filled with various different things. But yeah, maybe this quarantine season.
Yes, yeah, it's the perfect time. 'Tis the season.
Yeah.
So yeah, so we started talking about that, like our different ideas, and you were talking about really wanting to do like comic book or graphic novel sort of thing, and I was talking about I don't know what to do with this web series. Like it's impossible to make, and there's things that would work better in a graphic novel or comic book. And then for some reason, it took like a couple of weeks for the penny to drop. That hang on a second. Artist.
Yeah.
Idea that works in a comic book. Maybe we can put some of those together. Okay. Yeah. So we started talking and sharing ideas, and I stripped out some stuff from the web series because the web series was meant to work as it currently exists, as it existed to begin with, was 3 short films, 2 of which were kind of functioned independently, and then one of them was like a joining of the 2 films together.
Yes, yeah, I remember that.
So I kind of repurposed some stuff from the 2 individual short films and had them kind of taking place simultaneously, but then there's some stuff that takes place in that now takes place before the beginning of the story, and then the third short film that would have been the joining of the 2 stories is the bulk of what became the comic book, or what is becoming the comic book.
Becoming the comic book, yeah. You've basically just Frankensteined together bits of kind of shifted things around and given it new legs and new eyes and whatever. Yeah, I find it's quite an interesting.
It's a giant. It's got like legs that are double the length with extra joints and.
Yeah, I think it's quite an interesting process because I mean I'm by no means a writer, so seeing how that process kind of almost, it's funny because it's in some respects almost translates to what I do, but obviously I do it in like a visual form, so it's kind of like if I was to collage several different pieces of work together and make them into a new thing, which I think is quite interesting in that way.
It was because like they were always meant to exist as part of the same. Yeah, it's like they were separate but not different things. So joining them together made sense. Like they could fit really easily together. Even though they did all start their lives as separate things. So it's like, I don't know. It's just, I don't know. It's interesting. I'm going to be quiet now because I don't quite know where the sentence is going.
No, I think it was very valuable to me as well. Sort of understanding where you came from, in terms of like where your idea sort of first started, and seeing it develop into this whole new thing. Because if you're going to collaborate with somebody as closely as we're collaborating, you kind of need that deeper understanding between both parties to kind of know what the process is, how it shakes out, like where it starts, what the middle looks like, and kind of where it ends. And I think if you're not involved in that process all the way through, it can be a little bit more risky. I suppose it depends on like the team that works on everything, but I think for us it's certainly worked out really quite well.
It was very important because this has changed a lot, both in terms of like the story and the narrative, but it's also changed a lot in terms of visual style. Because I remember the first drawings that you sent me were very different. Like there were, similar elements and of character design and stuff, but actual visual style, like it was very like thin lined. The colors were very different. It was it was really interesting to see it develop from that into this more I don't know how to use words to describe art because it's not what I do. More comic booky look that we ended up with, So
and I think that was, sorry, yes.
No, you first.
Oh, I was gonna say, because that definitely, that kind of change in between the first drafts and the what is now in terms of the visual style of it all, certainly kind of happened over the course of the few weeks that I had in between then and the second round of drafts that I sent through, of the character designs, because I I just tried that style out on a whim. I was just like, I'm just gonna mess with different brushes, see what happens, and I actually like just got something really good out of just playing around for a little while. I looked at a couple of people whose kind of work I admired, and I realized, well, actually, I should maybe try something different. And I think it's really worked out, and it now kind of is the style that I use in my other work as well, which is quite nice because it just fits me a lot better than the stuff I was making previously.
Nice.
Quite nice for me personally.
Oh, that's good. I'm glad I've sort of managed to be a small part of your sort of stylistic shift, as you move to a new chapter of your creative existence.
Every project is a process. It's a journey. We learn all the time.
Yeah, I'm really glad that that I had this work on, because we've been working on this for a while now. When did we start?
I think we started talking about it in September. I have a feeling, because Ruckus was in August. We started talking about this in September. So it's been about like a solid 6 months now.
Yeah, well, it's really interesting because I like this stuff, this kind of noir and like horror stuff, like the darker kinds of stories and the more kind of fantastical stories, even like noir without any magical elements is fantastical because it's like it's unrealistic, it's kind of extra. That is the stuff that I always used to gravitate to, but I had been doing I've been doing an acting course that I finished just before going to Ruckus, where all the work I was doing was to essentially supplement the acting course that I was doing. So I was doing a lot of like really kind of standard drama things, which were good. Like I learned a lot from doing those, but I was sort of so focused on learning the skills I needed to to get the most out of that course that I stopped doing the kind of creative writing that I really am drawn to and really love doing, which is why this was such a good thing for me, because this is exactly what I wanted to be working on. And I had a lot of this kind of pent up noir energy from, you know, the previous year of doing kind of serious, like, do you love me drama kind of things.
Yes. BNE, big noir energy.
Big noir energy, yes. Oh, I'm getting message blonks. Give me a sec.
Message.
Yes. Wait. Watch me. I'm streaming.
Please. So
there we go.
Words are not happy.
I'm being like, hey, if you're messaging me, that means you've got nothing better to do.
So come what? We talk in somewhat real time, 17 seconds later.
Yes, exactly 17 seconds of delay.
Exactly 17 seconds.
And we know because geese.
Yes, because
because geese.
Because geese.
If that doesn't make sense to you, when the stream is finished, go back and watch the whole of the stream up to this point. It's a good time. We definitely spend all of it talking about relevant things to do with the comic book.
Yeah, we're consummate professionals.
Exactly, yeah.
We only stay on topic.
So we've talked about writing. We've talked about coming up with the color palette and the visual style. And I had some very like specific notes for you about some prop design things that you were like, that's really annoying. When I was like, and I want it to look like Damascus steel, and you were like, oh, I'm gonna have to draw so many lines.
Yes, yeah. Yeah, although I did manage to figure out how to create a brush preset for that, so it should make my life a lot easier.
Nice.
Yeah, so now I can just replicate that onto the object fairly easily, which should be a time saver. But nice. Yeah, I just remember being sent a photo of those like Damascus steel knives and swords, and just being like, what? Oh God, what the hell am I going to do with this? Like, how am I going to do this without hating every second of it? And actually, yeah, I figured out how to do a brush. So, like I said, it's all a learning curve.
I am still, like, when I was first thinking of doing this as a live action thing, I did some research into, like, let's see if I can find any. Yeah, okay, here's a good example. So I did some research into like knives, Damascus steel knives, like Damascus steel style knives, because no one knows how to actually make Damascus steel anymore. So I did research, and I looked up loads of like knives that were in this style. Japanese sushi knives are often made in this style, and no matter how many times I like wipe all of my search history, clear all of my cookies, I'm still getting advertised Japanese sushi knives everywhere. Like, anytime I go on Gmail, the first thing that comes up in the promotions tab is an advert for Japanese sushi knives.
You never told me this. This is amazing.
I went over to check, and yes, that is the thing that's being advertised to me right now in Gmail. I'm gonna post a screenshot.
That's extremely powerful.
And I can't get rid of it. They follow me. They follow me everywhere.
They must think that you're like some kind of professional sushi chef if you're, you know, if they're sending you all the time.
Is it possible to screen share? Let's see.
Yes, you should be able to. Right at the bottom of the
There is it.
There's a
Wait,
little
that's what I'm
banner.
doing. Is it?
Sorry?
Is that doing it?
Not yet.
Oh wait, no. I need to grant permission.
Oh, yeah, I had that. Yeah, I was doing
Um,
some meetings online at work yesterday, and that was the big thing. Everybody had to figure out their permissions for everything.
oh god, blah, blah, blah. Is it worth it? Is it worth it just so you can see this advert?
Just for the joke. Well,
You can just trust me, it's there.
I
I'll
trust
post it
you.
on Twitter. I'll post it on Twitter afterwards.
Oh, please, it'll be like a little in meme.
Exactly. Oh yeah, I can be like, um, Black Market Teal's gone bad. I'm looking for a new one. And then here's an advert for a new Black Market Deal for you. It's a Japanese sushi knife.
Ah, very good, very good.
Um,
I was actually going to ask, because I know we were talking about the possibility of further issues if this goes according to plan, and how well, depends on everything basically. But in your mind, like in sort of where you are at, how long, I guess, do you foresee, or like how many issues do you foresee this carrying on through? How much more would you want to expand the story?
well, it's very much a question of like interest, and once we're done with this issue and it's in people's hands, and we sort of get to see what everyone thinks of it, and yeah, how much they enjoy it and all that. Like, I kind of want to make sure that like if we do more issues, we can get the story done. But I've got lots of ideas, so I'm not sure. I think it would be difficult to get this story completed in less than 4 or 5 issues, but I know that we may not get a chance to make that many issues.
Yes.
So, but also, like, I could continue this to like 12 to 15 issues. I've got enough story for that in my brain.
Yeah.
So, if in the incredibly unlikely case that this is beloved by everyone and loads of people buy loads of issues, I could continue this forever. I have like things that can happen, and it can be like a soap opera with ridiculous things happening each issue.
Oh, that would be extremely good. I think the nice thing about the issue that we're working on at the moment is that if, on the off chance that it doesn't, even if it doesn't pick up, it's still such a nicely sort of self-contained little story that it could very well work on its own. But yeah, I would definitely want for it to go beyond even a couple of issues, and to be able to work on it for a little bit longer, because I'm enjoying it very much, and I would like this to continue, please.
Yeah, I 100% same. Like, yeah, firstly, I like working with you. It's great.
That's really sweet. I like working with you too.
Yeah, and I just like this story, because where we've got it to at the moment is it's a very satisfying ending for that issue, but it's also an ending that leaves you with more questions than answers.
Yes, yeah, I agree.
And it answers the questions that it raises earlier in the issue, but then in doing so, you're sort of wondering what's next and what's out there in the world, which is something that I like a lot. This is so I'm not sure exactly when I started reading Saga, but it was during making the transition between this being a series of short films, like as a web series, to it being a comic book series. I started reading Saga, and I really like the way they do these little self-contained stories, but then always have not exactly a cliffhanger, but like a really powerful image at the end, and it be something that makes you think about how big the world is. So that's something that I was trying to emulate with this.
I see.
I know. It's not stealing, it's taking inspiration.
Exactly.
Good. I need to disappear off screen for just a minute because I'm really thirsty and I need to fill up this glass of water.
Terrible. You are.
Actually, give me 1 sec. I can remove myself from the stream.
For water crimes. Oh dear, I'm being left by myself. Wow, it's just you and I now.
I am back.
Oh, he's back. Very good. That was very fast. I'm very impressed.
Well, it's because the sink is literally there.
Yeah.
Like, I didn't have to go far.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Oh yeah, wait, that just whilst I'm here, like, look, wait, hang on. Look, it's okay, wait, give me a sec. I need to okay, great. There's more space. It's the location from the video.
The location from the video.
Everything's mirrored, so it's hard to like show everything.
Of course,
like, where the light was, and then that's where everything was on the table, and it's me, and I was sitting here.
Yeah, I thought, actually, I will say this. It was, and I know I messaged you about it, but it was distinctly really, really weird to see my own face pop up in somebody else's video. In a like, because I didn't have loads of input in terms of like the practical stuff when it came to making the Indiegogo video. So seeing my own face, like my own picture pop up, I think I was, where was I? I think I was in a cafe with some friends, and they were off like ordering their drinks, and I sort of watched the video while they were at the counter, and I think they were coming back as I like apparently visibly jumped up when I saw myself like come up in the scene. I was like, oh god, that was really weird. Cool, but really weird.
Yeah. Wait, was that when your picture actually, like, I put it up when I was talking, or was that in the like flicking through the pieces of paper?
It was in the initial kind of noir segment of flicking through photographs and flicking through pictures.
I did feel very weird about printing off a picture of your face.
As you should.
Very surreal.
I was just surprised that was the picture you chose, actually.
Oh, really? It was like, I think it was your profile picture at the time, or it may have been like the previous profile picture because your new one was like somehow different, or I'm not sure.
Oh yeah, there was something about it clearly.
Oh yeah, it's because your current one has like you and a couple of other people in it, so it was the most recent one that was just you.
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, but yeah, it was just a distinctly surreal experience, but I wouldn't be opposed to having that happen again.
Well, next issue.
Provided issue, yeah.
If goes well, everyone needs to go donate to the Indiegogo because we're at 62% and we've only got 3 days left.
We're actually up to 65%, I believe.
65%. And
yes,
I said 3 days, but I mean 2 days.
Sorry?
I said 3 days left, but it's actually 2 days left.
I think it's 3. Let me double check.
I thought it was 2. I thought it finishes. I thought it finishes like at the end of the 26th.
We've got 3 days left.
That's interesting.
Because leap year.
Oh.
February had an extra day, so I think that might be why.
That might well be why. That makes a lot of sense. I did feel a little bit less stupid for not knowing it then. Nobody
No,
can
no, it's
anticipate
fine.
these
Easy
years.
mistake to make. You only have to think about that one day, like once every 4 years. Who cares?
Mhm. Mhm. Well, if February has an extra day, surely there should be one less day left of the Indiegogo than I thought. I'm not going to think about it too hard. It's fine. There's 3 days left. That's all that
Yeah,
matters.
there's 2 days left. That's all that matters. All that matters.
Um, I realized we've talked about like a lot, almost every step of the process, but
Yeah.
something we haven't talked about that I really enjoyed was editing roughs,
Yeah.
because that was a really productive call that we had,
Yeah.
hangout that we had. Because so just to walk through the process, I wrote the script. I sent it off to Agatha. We talked a bunch about like design and character, and you sent me loads of concept art. Um, I basically okayed a bunch of concept art, and then you started working on roughs,
Yeah.
which is just the layout of everything. Like,
Incredibly rough roughs,
yes,
might I add.
but that's to get a sense of like how each page and panel is going to look. Not like
Yeah.
100% accurate, but like framing and sort of composition and shot choice is the way I like to think of it. Yeah. So obviously, when I saw the roughs that you did, I had a lot of like, oh, I love this. I hadn't thought of this. This thing makes me think this, and we had a really good call to talk about that.
Yes, yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah, I thought that was really helpful as well because there were um, certain scenes where I kind of had it in my head in one very specific way, but having consulted with you, I think it was the um, Lord of the Rings
Hmm.
shot that you sent me as a reference point for one very specific scene.
Hmm.
And I think that was when it just sort of clicked in my head. I was like, oh my God, okay, so this is how this needs to work. Because I couldn't, for the life of me, figure out like how to draw a scene with like an object being emphasized and the kind of characters being sort of more in the background
Hmm.
without it looking absolutely and utterly ridiculous. And
Hmm.
actually, that was just a really, really helpful sort of reference point um, that I would never have thought of otherwise if I
Hmm.
hadn't had your input on it.
Yeah, I know that we. I know the shot, the scene that you're talking about, and the shot that I sent you that you're talking about. And I
Yeah.
also remember we were. I was like, you were doing doodles and sending them over to me as we were talking, and then I was also photoshopping your roughs to be
Yeah.
like, kind of like this, and then I'd like be stretching things out, and everything would be like in the wrong proportions, and there'd be like these weird hard edges everywhere. But it was a really fun time, and I know exactly the Lord of the
It
Rings.
was,
I
yeah.
love that shot.
Yes, yeah, because you just wouldn't stop going on about it. I've actually got
Mhm.
it saved on my desktop because it's I think it's just such a beautiful kind of just everything about it is just so very, very good.
Mhm.
Um, and yeah, I think it was just such a smart move to send that over and just kind of reference it because I mean, otherwise that scene would have looked like shit.
It looked great as it was. I just had an idea and was like, let's have a play.
And actually, it was the best idea. So there.
Oh, thank you. I didn't have that idea. Peter Jackson had that idea.
Well, again, inspiration.
Exactly. Stealing from Peter Jackson.
It's not like he hasn't got enough money as it is.
Exactly. It's not like he didn't probably steal that from someone else as well.
Exactly. Nothing in art is new. Everything is circular. Everything has been done before. So
Everything's wins.
yeah. That I think, yeah, that was just a really, really nice way of sort of working together. I think obviously, you know, the dream scenario would have been for us to be sat together, like at a desk, and just, you know, going through things like physically,
Mhm.
and you know, you could have like you pointing at a certain thing and I could just tweak it and do whatever. But actually that was just such a nice way of doing things remotely as well.
Mhm.
And
Yeah. We were
it's
working
amazing.
remotely before it was cool.
Exactly, exactly. So you know, we've already got some practice in before
Mhm.
the quarantine
Yeah.
kicked in. So, you know,
Yeah.
we're whizzes at this.
And it's really weird thinking that we started the Indiegogo of this,
Mm.
like, before, like, any of this was happening.
Oh, I know. It's so bizarre to think that,
Mhm.
because I know we've got some contributors, some donors from the States, which I'm thank you very much. I mean, to everybody
Mhm.
who contributed, obviously. But like, what's the situation going to be like in a couple of months' time when we're sending out the rewards, and you
Mhm.
know, we might not be able to send things over to the US, or might not
Mhm.
be able to use the post office.
Yeah, exactly, like, a lot yeah, yeah. It's a weird, weird thing to think about, and so many international donors, not just from the US, but from, like, uh should I go check on analytics?
I have a
Um,
feeling we've got somebody from France donating, but I could be wrong.
yeah, I think we've got someone from France, we've got someone from Norway?
The Netherlands,
The Netherlands.
Mertha, I think,
Oh,
donated.
of course, yeah. Um, thinking about, like, doing like, the idea of doing international postage back then was like, "It'll be fine." And now
Yeah,
I'm like, in the long term, it'll be fine, but, like,
yeah.
it might take a little bit longer than we planned.
Yes. To be honest, there are now options to print postage off, you know, online. So as long
Mhm.
as it fits in a post box, I'm sure it'll be okay.
It will, it will. Plus,
Yeah.
like, yeah, yeah, I don't know, plus what? Like, it's a very weird situation to be in. Um, but yeah, that the fact that, like, so much has happened just since we launched the Indiegogo is insane.
I know.
Mhm.
Yes, it really, really is. It really is. And uh, to be honest, there's so much I could say about this whole entire thing, but I'm not going to because it's it would derail us for a solid 2 hours, and also it's not really what we're here to talk about.
Mhm, yeah.
Um,
I should probably
but
say, maybe let's keep this to, like, 20 minutes more and then stop the
sure,
stream. But yeah, say
cool,
your thing.
good. Oh no, I was just gonna say that like the situation is so deeply bizarre, and especially in the UK, so poorly managed, frankly.
Mhm,
That yeah, it just kind of makes me wonder, like, you know, what's the future gonna look like under the current situation? What are things gonna look like for people who, you know, people like us who freelance or only work part time?
mhm,
Is what kind of protections are going to be in place for people like us?
mhm,
But I think, well, we won't know until we kind of um, get to it. But I read somewhere recently, because I mean, this has been compared quite a lot to the Black Plague, this current situation that we're in.
mhm,
Um, and immediately following the Black Plague, you had tons of increased wages for the peasants, the peasant workers, and the Renaissance kicked in not too long after. So I think we might be in a good place for the arts.
maybe we've just got to survive for, like, 10 more years.
Yes, yeah, 10 more years of this.
Mhm. But similarly, if you think what happened 10 years after the Spanish flu,
Mm, yeah, but yeah.
So we'll have to wait and see.
Yeah. If only we had like a crystal ball to,
Exactly.
look into the
Or
future. But
some kind of magical artifact.
yes, that would be very handy. Do you have any plans for those?
Well, people will have to buy the comic to find out. Maybe
Oh,
it's on the Indiegogo, so you can read the comic as soon as it's available to anyone.
yes.
Yes.
Oh, here's something that we haven't discussed actually, and it only just occurred to me now. In the dim, distant, post-apocalyptic future that we're all going to be a part of, would we ever consider potentially making this available as a webcomic? Would that be something that we'd be interested in?
Again, this is a thing that's like entirely dependent on like how things go in the next couple of months. Or I say couple of months, in the first couple of months. Rewind that a little bit. How things go in the first couple of months after we start sending this out to people, because it's like definitely something I'd be interested in doing, but I don't know if it's something that we definitely will do. Does that make sense?
No, absolutely, it does. I mean, from my end, I imagined that we probably wouldn't put this up until we kind of were done with it and it had been out in the world for a while.
I'm up for that as well. There's always the possibility of putting it out sooner than that, but I think the only situation, it'll be either when we're done with it, or if we think that we can make it sort of sustainable, like financially sustainable, to put it out as a webcomic. So if we were to like start a Patreon specifically for this project and then put it out as a webcomic, those are the two scenarios I see us putting it out like that. So if we can, until either of those things happen, I think it's probably not going to be coming out, but who knows?
Yeah, I think, like you said, we probably won't know until further down the line, and I agree we should probably hold off until a little bit later on. But we'll see what the future brings, I suppose.
Yeah, that is the truth. Always has been. Sorry, the candle is like we've got this 3-wick candle, but only 2 of the wicks are burning, and I'm like, ooh, I wonder if that's going to make any interesting patterns in the wax when one of them is just not melted down. What's going to happen in the next wick? Like,
3-wick candles are that's the stuff.
The peak of adulthood.
Oh yes, yeah. Wonder whether you can get them in like 5-wick or 7-wick, but I reckon 3 is probably the optimum multiple of wicks.
Because I'm thinking, like, it must be possible to burn down just 1 wick, and so you make a tunnel, and then you burn down another wick on the side, and then you can have like a sort of, you can light the top wick, and then you'll have this kind of cascading waterfall of wax down in a little spiral down the 3 layers. That must be something.
I think
if I get another 3-wick candle,
I think it would be like a weird, almost like a Venn diagram, because I imagine that when you're like lighting 1 wick, it will kind of encroach on the circular space on one of the others kind of wicks areas. Why are we talking about candles?
Right there. I was getting distracted by it.
That's absolutely valid. But I'd be interested. Come back to me with the results.
Of the candle experiment.
Yes, yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I was going to say, which bit of conversation are we on right now?
Oh yeah, the candle experiment. No, firmly the candle experiment.
Excellent. Good. Do we have anything else we need to cover? Because my laptop is on 15% battery.
Oh dear.
Yes, and we have been going for about an hour now, which seems like a kind of nice time to round things off.
Yeah, no, I agree. No, I can't really think of anything else that we might want to cover, except for like, please donate.
Yes,
Because
okay. Please don't. We should be saying that every 5 minutes.
it's like 3 days left, and while we are, 2/3 of the way, it would be really nice to get. Obviously, ideally, we would love to reach our sort of full goal and actually go beyond that. But to be honest, any amount of donations or even just spreading the word would be really, really helpful to us.
Although I'm sure there are plenty of things worth spreading the word about at the moment. If you could add this to your, to your list of things to spread the word about, it would be greatly appreciated.
Absolutely, yeah, because we all know that the word's got its problems at the moment, but like here's a little thing that might distract you from whatever's going on in the world, and it's it's a way of supporting independent artists, basically, like myself and like Matthew. So all the more reason to support us.
What you said, but I don't think I can do it as eloquently as you.
Oh, that's very kind, but I'm sure you could. Like, you're a writer.
Okay, if you gave me like a few hours to think about it and write it down, then maybe I could. But just like off the cuff, I'm not necessarily the best with the words.
Off the dome, I'm gonna have to like give you some training in that. I think.
Excellent. Good.
Yeah.
Well, I think then maybe we should end the broadcast, and maybe we'll see if we can do another one of these streams before the end of the Indiegogo.
Yeah, we'll see how we get on, and hopefully we'll be better at the technology this time around.
Now I know what I'm doing.
Yes.
So fingers crossed that all goes well. Thanks everyone for watching. We had about 4 people watching concurrently at one particular moment, which was a really a high point in my online career.
Oh no!
I'm glad the tragedy of that worked so well for you. But seriously, everyone who came to watch this stream, we are really, really grateful.
Yes, thank you very, very much. It really means a lot. And I might do a little live stream on one of my sort of Instagram accounts as well, and all depends on time available. Though everybody knows we've got buckets of that at the moment. But yeah, so see you maybe on here, maybe see you on another one. Guess we'll find out.
Yeah, we'll have to see. Yeah. Yep. Nice. Goodbye, internet. Thank you for coming.
Goodbye, internet. Thank you very much.